Chapter 340. While Yudhir was deep in conversation with Ever about the letter, a sudden knock interrupted them. Without waiting for a reply, the door was abruptly flung open, revealing the lord of the mansion they were staying in, Baron Wilhelm. Accompanied by a group of his servants, Baron Wilhelm's gaze swept across the room, settling momentarily on Ever, then on Yudhir. His eyebrows knitted ever so slightly, although he attempted to maintain his composure, the icy coldness in his eyes was unmistakable. I heard you were too ill to accompany the Duke, but you look perfectly well to me. Ever concealed her displeasure and tucked away the letter. Rising calmly from his seat, Yudhir addressed the Baron. What brings you here, Baron? How rude of you to speak without even greeting. Understandable, the Baron interrupted. Even if he's been directly honored by the Emperor himself, he might not be accustomed to the formalities yet. A servant by Baron Wilhelm's side pointed out Yudhir's disrespect, but the Baron dismissed him with a wave, feigning a magnanimous tone that didn't align with his true demeanor. I have matters to discuss with you. I couldn't notify you earlier as this seemed like the only opportune moment. Shall we have a private conversation? The suggestion was phrased politely, but its tone was unmistakably commanding. He wants to talk? If he visited without notice, especially in Kishir's absence and only when Yudhir was present, the intent was clear. Ever shot a sharp glance at Baron Wilhelm, then turned her attention to Yudhir. Yudhir? Her brief call held a plea, a wish for him to stay regardless of what Baron Wilhelm might say. In response, Yudhir gave her a brief nod, signaling that everything was okay. Very well. Ever, once our conversation is over, I will seek you out. Would that be acceptable? Understood. I will be in the reception room. See you later. Ever rose, offering a curtsy nod to Baron Wilhelm, and left the room. A cold gust followed in her wake. Baron Wilhelm looked displeased at her departure, signaled for his servants to approach. Only after they meticulously dusted off the chair Ever had occupied did the Baron seat himself with a flourish of his mustache. Ever since learning that you are the hero of the Great Serene Forest, I have been eager to meet you personally. Fortunately, this opportunity came sooner than expected. You might already know, but I am Joseph Wilhelm. I am Yudhir Ale. While Baron Wilhelm went on about the illustrious history of the Wilhelm family, stewards of Tainu for roughly 8 generations, Yudhir paid little heed. His only concern was when the Baron would get to the point. Thus, the abnormal monster occurrences beyond the western border this year, which began to infringe upon the Great Serene Forest, were of great concern to me. I genuinely want to thank you for resolving the issue. Is he finally getting to it? Just as Yudhir was contemplating the idea of gazing outside due to the sheer monotony of the conversation, Baron Wilhelm broached the topic of the monsters. That's not true. I have heard that you single-handedly defeated those monsters but were injured in the process. Is that true? Baron Wilhelm's gaze lingered noticeably on Yudhir's left eye. Yudhir maintained a neutral expression, met the Baron's eyes, and nodded. Yes. Even so, having to follow all the way here instead of heading straight back to the capital, it seems Duke Peleta truly values you. How else would he offer his own residence? While it was phrased in a manner of admiration, the underlying meaning was, after all the hardships, how humiliating it must be to be held by Duke Peleta. Yudhir remained silent, prompting Baron Wilhelm to lean in and whisper in a voice feigning sincerity. A talent like you, set to lead our empire, shouldn't be wasted sitting in a place like this. Duke Tane, impressed by your achievements, has mentioned he shares the same sentiment. Is that so? Can you believe he speaks so progressively about the Awakener? But it's quite understandable. Deciphering Yudha's reaction, Baron Wilhelm began to extensively praise Duke Tane. Amid his words suggesting Duke Tane was adventurous and could overlook minor flaws for something of value, Yudhir easily discerned his true intent. Someone who's invested all his assets in high risk ventures would, of course, be audacious. Hoping for success while turning a blind eye to potential pitfalls is a typical trait of such people. In his previous life, Duke Tane had lived comfortably even after Emperor Kashtan's ascension. His family was implicated in an illegal fighting arena scandal, but they were proven uninvolved. Keeping a low profile in the capital due to personal businesses, Yudhir never had any reason to be wary of him. But in hindsight, it seemed clear that the support and endorsement of other nobles, including Kashtian, allowed him such peace. Emperor Kashtian despised any potential threats, yet showed mercy to those who kept a low profile and collaborated. Among the four ducal families, Duke Tane, who had always prioritized imperial matters without causing any threats to the emperor's authority, had played his cards right. Normally, Yudhir wouldn't have given it a second thought, but the mention left a bitter taste in his mouth because it reminded him of Kishir. What do you think? Any thoughts? Distracted by his memories of the Tane family, Yudhir had missed some of Baron Wilhelm's words. The Baron, noticing Yudhir's silence and watching him carefully, tried not to appear intimidated and raised his voice. Of course, arranging a meeting with Duke Tane might not be easy, but opportunities don't come often. I will lay the groundwork. All you have to do is return to the capital and await contact. It shouldn't be hard, right? So, you are saying Duke Tane wants to meet me? Exactly. Baron Wilhelm finally smiled, sensing they were on the same page. Yudhir, however, did not reciprocate. It was almost absurd how this situation was playing out exactly as Kishir had feared. I'm sorry, but that will be difficult. What? I am an assistant to the commander of the cavalry. Everything I have done was out of duty in my capacity there, nothing more. If the Duke wishes to contact me, please speak to the commander first. The Baron's eyes widened, his face reddening, whether it had to do with Yudhir or not. What? What's wrong with the cavalry? Are you suggesting that it should take precedence over the words of Duke Tane right now? So, are you saying that I shouldn't prioritize the wishes of the commander of the cavalry, Duke Paleta, over yours? For a moment, Baron Wilhelm was at a loss for words. This guy. He had assumed Yudhir would want to break away from Duke Paleta, hence his attempt at persuasion. He never expected this kind of response. Logically, Wilhelm should have been looking down at his counterpart with a calm demeanor, while the latter should have been anxiously hanging on his every word. Yet, the Baron was the one struggling to mask his emotions. Yudhir, on the other hand, added insult to injury with his audacious words. Wilhelm tried to contain his emotions, suddenly realizing he shouldn't underestimate his opponent. He quickly opened his mouth, trying to hide a vague unease. Why do you speak such nonsense? You know that's not what I meant. How can you achieve anything with such rigidity? From your perspective, it might seem like you're defying Duke Paleta, but I assure you, there is nothing to worry about. So, you are saying I can tell the Duke about this proposal? No, not that. Yudhir, watching the flustered Baron Wilhelm, coldly smirked to himself. For the moment Wilhelm proposed something that shouldn't be disclosed to Kesher, it was clear his worry-free, good proposal was anything but. How foolish did he think Udir was? Don't tell His Highness Duke Paleta that I told you this. I will take care of that. So, what I'm trying to say is, my lord, my apologies for interrupting. There is an urgent message from the mansion. Suddenly, a servant appeared at the door. The composed man with the black hair contrasted sharply with the red-faced, leaning Wilhelm. The servant momentarily hesitated, then responding to an impatient inquiry, finally spoke. My lord, the first prince of Tain family has just arrived here. The first prince? Baron Wilhelm jumped up in shock. Duke Tain never sent any notice. What on earth is happening? I'm not sure. The lady of the house is with the prince and awaits you. I understand. Responding swiftly, Wilhelm turned to Udir. An unexpected situation has arisen. We will pause our discussion for now, but think carefully about what I have said. I will call upon you again. After they departed, Udir sat for a while, pondering the recent events. Clearly, it had nothing to do with Baron Wilhelm's proposal.